In this example, I'm going to show you how to wear a disguise to get past an NPC. This is very similar to the security robot. Um, and so the code's very similar. The concept is very similar. We're going to use a check function. A check is a validity check on a command to see that if this should be carried out or not. So what we're going to do is we're going to say if the player's not wearing the disguise, we're going to stop the player from moving. So this is done using a check. I've added a conference room here and a scientist in the lab, and I've put a lab coat. I actually moved the lab coat into the hallway. So there's a lab coat. We have to wear the lab coat to get past the scientist to get into the conference room. So let's pop over to Lantern and get going on that. Okay, so here's Lantern, and let me save this. Okay, so our scientist is in the lab. I've described the scientist as wearing a white coat. The initial description of the scientist is a scientist is here conducting experiments. NPCs should always have initial descriptions. It just makes the writing a lot better. I've put the lab coat in the hallway, and let's make the lab coat portable and make it wearable. So if I run my game now, I should be able to go south to the hallway. Oh, there's the robot. I've got to shoot the robot. All right, south, there's a scientist here. West, okay, so I need to wire up the lab west to the conference room, and the conference room should go east to the lab. There we go. Save. All right. Now, if we run this, you should see that south. Where am I? Oh, I'm in the lounge. East, south. Okay. The robot. Okay, shoot the robot. Okay, so now there's a scientist here. I can go west and I can go east. Oh, because I forgot to light the light that room. So can I take the coat? Yes. Can I wear the coat? Yes. All right, so if I type inventory, it says that the lab coat's being worn. And that all works just if you make something wearable. There's a little wearable bit right there. And then let's make the conference room lit. There we go. Save that. Okay, so let's write some code to get the scientist to block us. We can't go into the conference room if we're not wearing the lab coat. So let's make a check here. We'll call it check scientist, or we could call it check wearing lab coat or check lab coat. Those are all fine names. So I'm going to add a check function here. And let's say require a disguise to pass an NPC. So let's select that one. Which room is the player leaving? And that is the laboratory. Which object does the player need to wear? That would be the lab coat. And which direction is this applying to? So we're trying to go west into the conference room, and I will say, okay. So what this says is if the player's in the lab and the lab coat is not being worn, so if the lab coat's worn property is set to 0, then print. Okay, then there's some text here that we probably want to change. I don't know, the tabbing ended up being really weird there, but whatever. So let's say the scientist barks, scientist, yeah, it looks right. Barks, authorized personnel only. There you go. And otherwise, print, how about the scientist waves you through, sure. Or just, we don't even actually have that there. We don't even need this else clause, really. We could say, the science. Yeah, sure, or just the scientist waves at you or something. Whatever, it's your game. Make it what you want. Bob Ross it. So let's take a look now at the verb west. So if we select the verb west over here, notice that we are doing our scientist check. Every time we go west, we're going to do the scientist check, and we're going to say if the player's in the lab and the player's not wearing the lab coat, then we're going to print the scientist barks, authorized personnel only. Otherwise, the scientist waves at you as you as you go into the conference room. So just change the text to match what your game, or you could even get rid of that completely. That would be fine. So now let's test it out. Test my game. There's a lab coat here. Take the coat. Wear the coat. You put on the lab coat. Okay, south. Shoot the robot. The robot sparks and falls to the floor. Okay, let's go south. There's our scientist here. Am I wearing the lab coat? Let me drop the coat. The scientist barks. Authorized personnel only. Wear coat. You don't have that. Oh, God. Take the coat. Wear the coat. Put on the lab coat, west. The scientist waves as you enter the conference room. Not a very smart scientist, right? But it worked. Conference room, this is a large room with a conference table in the center. There is an exit to the east. Now, if I've mentioned in this room description that there's a conference table, it says I don't know the word table. So what I should do in this conference room is add a scenery object for that table, because maybe I want to put some classified documents on it or something. So I'll add another object, and I'll call it table, and I'll make it a supporter. So supporters mean you can put things on them, and I'll make it scenery, so it's there in the room, but it's not listed. So actually, let's uncheck scenery, and I'm going to put the player in the conference room. Where's the conference room? There we go. And run that. Okay, so notice it doesn't say that there's a, where's our table? You don't see that here. Okay, so where'd my table go? Oh, yeah. Oh, you know what? I didn't put the table in the conference room. I put the player in the conference room. All right, so our table's in the conference room, our player's in the conference room. And this says, this is a large room with a conference table in the center. There's an exit to the east. There's a table here, right? Okay, so I've already mentioned that there's a table. I really don't want that description of the table right there. So let's just make the table scenery. And I run this, and you can see, okay, so, right, so the table is still there, and I could, I don't have the lab coat. Oh, is it where? I must have left it somewhere else. It's probably in the hallway. So there you go. That's how to make an NP. You know, you have to make an. You need to wear the disguise to get past the NPC. Just make a check, and what we're going to do is say, hey, if you're in the particular room, then make sure you're wearing this. Otherwise, stop. And then this. And then that check needs to get added onto a verb. Now, if like later, you know, we change things, and instead of going west to the conference room, we go south, we could just remove this check. Wait, actually, that's on the verb west, right? West. See, I could remove that check, and now it's not running the scientist check. Now I could say, okay, well, hang on, let's put that on going south. I could put the scientist check on going south. So that's how that works. But let's put it back on going west. West. There we go. So that is how to wear a disguise to sneak past an NPC.